What's shaking, my friends? My name is Shay. Welcome back to my channel, and today I have my worst books of 2021. Alright, so I don't have much to say about these books because I wiped them out of my brain as soon as I read them. And disclaimer, if you love these books, fantastic. We can all be different readers with different opinions. So I am super excited to share my worst books of 2021 with you, and I have quite a few. So let's get started. The first book was a book that I had an arc of, and that is going to be The Project by Courtney Summers. I thought this was going to be like a great cultish thriller, and it didn't turn out to be that way. I was just very bored, and basically I just didn't find anything compelling about the writing. I would not be opposed to trying Courtney Summers again, but I also just did not like Sadie by her, which everybody loved, and I didn't really care for it. So I may just put that author on the back burner. YA thriller kind of books just is not my genre anyway, so I may just quit reading that genre altogether. The next book is going to be The Last Flight, and I cannot remember who wrote this book. I'll put it in the video, but I didn't care. I felt like it was another thriller, and I did not have a good relationship with thrillers in 2021. But this one specifically was boring, and I felt like it did not, have any, it made just no sense, and it was boring. It was boring. There was nothing exciting about this entire book. So the next one is going to be Shit by Angie Hockman, which I also had an arc for this year, and this year was not a great year in terms of arcs for me. So it was fine. I didn't care for it. I didn't feel any kind of chemistry between the characters. I thought the writing was not spectacular. I just had no interest in this book. None whatsoever. The Mask of Mirrors by M.L. Carrick, I think. M.A. Carrick? I can't remember. I'll pop it up on the screen. I could not stand this book. This is a long book. This is another arc I had, and this dragged so slowly. I have heard a lot of praise about this book, so if it's something you like, go read it, but it dragged on. I definitely will not be reading the second in the series. I thought that the premise was really good, and some of the parts of the book were really good, but then it was like 100 pages of nothing, and then there would be something that happened, and then 100 pages of nothing, and I'm just not here for it. I'm not here for it. Another book that was super hyped up, and that's going to be One Last Stop by Casey McQuiston. So I'm in the minority, and I didn't really care for Red, White, and Royal Blue like everybody else seemed to, and so, but I decided to give it another shot, and I read One Last Stop because everybody was raving about it, and again, this had like a magical element to it, and I didn't care for it, and some of the scenes were cringy, and just, I didn't like hardly anything about the book. The only thing I enjoyed about the book was the friend group, because I love friend groups, and I thought it was a great one in that book, but everything else was just not for me. Another book I had an arc for was The Vines by Shelley Nolden, and this book was okay for like the first 40% mark, and then it just got repetitive and not interesting, and I don't want to say that the writing was poor. It just wasn't a compelling story to me. But again, it could be to somebody else. I don't know. I didn't care for anything about the book. So the next book is going to be The Echo Wife by Sarah Gailey, and this is a sci-fi thriller, yeah, and about clones and all this stuff. And I just didn't like this book. I don't even know how to say, like, it just, to me, there was no thrilling part to it. It was just cut and dry. This, and this happens, and it just, there was nothing thrilling about it, so I did not care for it. The next is The Silent Wife, and I can't remember who even wrote this. I will put it up on the screen. I can't remember anything about this book. I thought it was again, a cut and dry novel. Nothing thrilling about it. Nothing happens, and it's just another book that I don't understand why it's a thing. So, I have another one, 10 Truths and a Dare by Ashley Elston, I think is who it is. And I had read her other one, 10 Blind Dates. This is another one where I should quit reading YA contemporary romance because this is what this was. And basically, to me, it read like a middle grade. And it was drama-filled and cringy. And the dialogue was cringy. And I did not care a single lick for it. And it was another arc I had in 2021. Her Body and Other Parties by Marie Machado. This is a book of short stories that it's supposed to empower women, and I found them utterly crazy. I mean, they're supposed to be ridiculous and using metaphors to relate to women, but I just found it just not to my taste. I didn't care for the stories. I thought a lot of them were confusing, and I couldn't figure out what they were trying to metaphor. Maybe I'm just not smart enough to read it. I don't know. Another one was Was Anastasia. So this was a book that I read for my book club, and it's historical fiction, and I don't generally read historical fiction. I have read some in the past and enjoyed it, but this one was just not it. This one was just very boring, very slow moving plot, and I have to have some kind of, I'm a cross between a plot-based and a character-based reading. I like an equal amount of both. I can have a lot of plot, but if you don't have a lot of character development, I'm not interested. I can have a lot of character, but if there's not enough plot, I'm also not interested. I gotta have a 50-50 thing, and with I Was Anastasia, I didn't have that. I thought it was very slow-moving, and it didn't have a lot of super big character development, because that's part of the mystery of the story in there, and so it just threw me off, and I didn't really care for the story. The Age of Witches by Louise Morgan. This is another book I read for my book club. Some people really, really love it. There's a lot of books in this world, and I just didn't care for this one. I can't tell you much, or can't remember much about it, but I just really did not enjoy it at all. My Heart is a Chainsaw by Stephen Graham Jones. So this is another arc I had. Do y'all see the trend here? I had a bunch of arcs in 2021 that I did not like, which is why I'm not requesting arcs in the year of 2022. This book it's a thriller, and part of the reason why I don't like it is because basically I felt like you had to have some kind of knowledge of slasher films. So that's what the whole book is about. It's an homage to slasher films, and I didn't care for it. I didn't care for the way it ended. I didn't care for any of it. I heard he's doing a sequel. I won't be reading that. I didn't care for the way this book, the direction this book went. I didn't care for the basis of this book, and I just really did not care for our main character. So overall, just did not enjoy the book. And probably the number one book that I hated the most was Hairpin Bridge by Taylor Adams. So this is the follow-up to it's not a follow-up, but this is a second novel after No Exit, which everybody loves. And again, I was an unpopular opinion on that book. I thought it was fine. I didn't super love it, and so I didn't have really high expectations for Hairpin Bridge, but I thought that it would be better than it was. It is another book that takes place in a short time frame, and I think it worked better for Taylor Adams in No Exit than it did in this one, because there was really just no mystery to it. We knew what happened from the start. There was a little bit of a twist in the end, but it didn't make any difference to the story, and I didn't care. It was a lot of book to take place in a short amount of time with a short number of characters, and we already knew what was happening. We already knew what was going on, and I just didn't care for it at all. It was not good in my opinion, and not to say I won't try Taylor Adams again, but it's just not for me. So, with that being said, now that I have completed my most disappointing reads and my worst books of 2021, you will see that that is a lengthy number of books, and I did not have a fantastic reading year in 2021. I'm hoping to change that in 2022. I want to read more things that I want to read versus reading arcs or popular books or things that I feel like I'm supposed to be reading. Because I feel like when I read books that are very popular, I the expectation is that I'm going to really, really love them because they're popular and everybody loves them, and then I end up not enjoying them, and then it makes, not to say that I'm not going to read more popular fantasy series. I absolutely positively do want to do that, but I do also want to read for me more this year, which is why I've gotten rid of the whole ARC thing. I do have a few ARCs in 2022 that I have already requested that I will be reading, but I kind of want to get away from that because I just have been burned so many times, obviously, because they all ended up on the list of worst or most disappointing. And so hopefully we're gonna, fingers crossed, that we have a good, better reading year in 2022. All right, guys, I will see you next time.